Hello, everybody. Welcome to the State of the Market for July 2025. I'm here with a few extra people. I invited some of the guys that set up with Al and I for the SoCo. So I figured we could get some perspectives on the national and SoCo for those of us that kind of experience both or one or the other. Um, so we have Scott, which I think some of you guys have seen before on some of our shows, and then Champ and Matt from Primo Podcast, and also the Discord. Gentlemen, thanks for joining.
Thanks for the invite.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess the one thing I know is we all were at SoCo, so why don't we start with the SoCo Expo and kind of just getting your thoughts on like maybe what your expectations were of it, and then did it meet them? And why don't we just start there? Scott.
Well, first Wednesday night we had the dinner, and my expectation was that Seb and Champ would show up on time.
Yeah. I mean, they were fashionably late.
Failed miserably on that. So I thought the national. I went to both. I went to the national and I went to SoCo. And I thought the crowd size at the national was just overwhelming this year. I mean, it was ridiculous. And the stuff that I've seen online, I had a VIP pass, so I got to bypass most of the line on Saturday and just walk right through. But the videos that are floating around, I mean, the line was over 1.5 miles. They had to let the general admission in a half hour early just because it was becoming a public safety risk. It was insane. SoCo, was far away. The hours are not really conducive to my lifestyle, 4 to midnight. But I thought it was well attended for being a sideshow that was later in the afternoon and a few miles away. And I had a great experience seeing everybody. Got to meet up a lot of people from the Discord. See people that I've talked to for years, and finally put faces to names.
Champ, what were your initial thoughts of SoCo?
Well, I was just nervous, anxious. Seb really kind of like calmed me down. He kind of knew that I was going to be out of it, but he gave me good wisdom, good guidance. As far as just being at the show, I mean, I think everyone said it before. It's just the experience of being amongst y'all, amongst our crew, our people. I think that alone is worth the price of admission, even though there wasn't any admission, right? But I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna sell as much as I did. I'm pretty shocked. I was able to kind of like pick up the speed of it as time went on. I was able to feel comfortable. I was able to kind of let people think about it. I knew when to approach, when to attack, when to offer a good deal, when to, I started to kind of practice little things going forward. That really brought a whole new mind state towards the champ. The champ now, I'm trying to sell everything right now. Coffee, used coffee cups, gum, everything, just because I felt like, you know what I mean? Like, it's something I had never done with cards, and I thought towards the end I was doing pretty decent. I felt like if I really focus on it, I could do good. The show was a little hot, especially our corner, right? It felt a little hot. Then again, I'm 400 pounds. I'm like a slow roasting pig. So, but I saw skinny people sweating, and when a fat dude sees skinny people sweating, it's serious, right? But I really enjoyed the space for the event. Now, granted, I wish there was more pre-modern, more pre-war, more of the 70s and 60s, of course, right? I think in our group, we all want that. But I was satisfied with what we had, because at the end of the day, we were probably the main ones. There was maybe a couple of other spots, but we were the main ones that had that stuff. So we were able to sell, right? If there's 20 tables selling Primo, I'm not going to do as good as I did. But I think it's just, it's just as time goes on, I think people will slowly get into it. And I think with our crew, if we keep waving that flag in that corner and we're able to keep doing it. I think, it's the normal thing where you get in through modern or ultra modern, then you go to modern, then you go to pre-modern, then you go to vintage, pre-war, and before you know it, you're trying to find artifacts from like 1776. So it worked out good for me, but I'm blessed. It was good. I made money, so that's always good.
How about you, Matt? What were your thoughts? Because I know you came in and then you did like one day at the National also. Is that correct?
I did. I stopped by on Saturday, I guess. SoCo, so I don't go to a ton of shows. It blew me away. I mean, meeting the folks on this call and then other folks from the Discord and connections on Instagram, like that was worth the whole trip to me. Just chatting with people, connecting with people face to face. That was crazy. I also think the soccer vibe is really positive, and I don't know if it's unique to our market. I think it is, because I've heard other people kind of talk about soccer in that light, where it's like, man, the vibe at SoCo was so positive, and everybody was kind of getting along. So I really, really enjoyed that. I agree with Champ that I wish there was more pre-modern and vintage. I think that's no surprise considering who's on the call right now. I thought Pelkey had a really cool post on the Discord, and he talked about like he hoped it was worth it for the international sellers that came in. There was more international sellers than I was expecting. Yeah. This is like the second show I've ever been to. My expectations were completely ignorant, but I thought the international sellers actually had some of the most interesting stuff in our markets. Sure. And I really hope it was worth their trip, because I want to see them back next year, because they really added a lot to the show.
Yeah, it's did you guys I know Champ said the temperature was a little saucy in there, but did you guys think there was something that could be done to like improve SoCo in general, or something maybe you wish they did, or something maybe we can recommend to Scott for next year? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I thought the distance, if they can make the distance within walking distance of the convention center, I think they would pick up a lot more traffic. And I don't think they really have to care about the hours not conflicting with the National. The National does such a business that, I mean, SoCo, no matter how good it gets, it's never going to be anything more than a net on a cow's ass to the National. Sure. So I don't think that they have to run the show 4 to midnight. They can make it more like 12 to 8, a little bit more reasonable. Won't interfere with Champ's drinking time. We can get him out to the bar on time.
Oh, God.
I mean, he didn't stop it at the SoCo, so
Hey, in fairness to Champ, that was only one night, right? And
we were all drinking, to be fair.
So it wasn't. But hey, yeah, I think you're right. You're right on, Scott, on this, right? I think the distance, especially in a city like Chicago, is quite painful and a huge deterrent. And I think that if you had this like in a ballroom in the Hilton or in the Westin, or those that are within walking distance of the National, you could even charge $5 and you would more than cover your costs. I think that the idea of having like these soccer tournaments and stuff like that is awesome, and I love it, but I don't think that readily translated into more soccer card activity. Right. So I think that was a little bit of a miss, from that. I love the idea, and guess what? On these things, you got to try ideas, replicate what works, avoid things that don't work. So from my personal perspective, finding it, and I think he's probably already signed up for next year and stuff like that, but yeah. Longer term, getting that like pretty much attached in the hotel rooms next to the National would be huge. And I think you could charge more for the tables. I think you could charge admission, and I think you would still do well, especially if maybe it's not as long, but if you did like a 4 to 10, which is what we did last year, wasn't that? Or maybe it was 11.
It was 6 to 12 last year, but it wasn't intersecting with the National. But I think by 10 o'clock, there wasn't many people coming in. It was just all us kind of BSing with each other. And so I think the last 2 hours were kind of just, there wasn't really much happening.
But I would think that if you were attached to the national and people are staying there, people may feel differently.
Or turn it into like the last couple hours just be a trade night or something, where everybody can kind of just chill out and, you know, be a soccer trade night. I think that would probably be better. But you know, it's like this is the second year, so it's just figuring shit out, and you know, hopefully as we go on, things will improve, and you know, I fully expect you know, Scott and the team to adjust to certain things they control. I don't necessarily know we're going to get closer, since I think he did say that they have renewed at soccer fields for the next 2 years. But they're not going to do the tournaments moving forward, from what I understand. So removing the soccer, adding more tables, I think is probably what the plan is. I was listening to Soccer Cards United and their review about National and SoCo, and they were kind of like questioning the attendance numbers. And they said it never felt like, they felt like Thursday was the busiest to them, and that was kind of like 4,000 people, and then the total attendance was 13,500, and they said that it never felt like that, I guess. So I don't know what your guys' opinion on that is. Is it just because of how big the space was in the aisles, so it never felt packed, or is it? Or did you kind of get the same feeling? It didn't quite feel as busy as the numbers said.
I mean, 4,000 people is 500 people an hour, basically. I never felt like it had anything close to that.
Yeah,
I would agree. It felt to me a significant drop off from the activity in Cleveland, which, by the way, is somewhat appreciated, because like Cleveland, like there was like couldn't even go to the bathroom, and it was just like constant flow. I mean, I think the first night in Cleveland, maybe we said like 3 words to each other, you know, like Bill. It was just like crazy in Cleveland. So, and I know that that's spreading out and it's much bigger footprint. So that, you know, the people spread out, but I would definitely say that it was a pretty big drop off conceptually, or maybe some people just never got to us, right? Yeah. They came for an hour or two and they stayed in a different pod or, you know, field, and they just never could do the whole show, right? Or they were tired, or, you know, who knows? But I honestly, I would agree with Scott there. It didn't feel, for those who were in Cleveland, it felt like a drop off in attendance from Cleveland. But I wouldn't be surprised if the numbers were higher than Cleveland. I just think 14,000 seems like a huge number.
Well, and that's like, I think he said that it was 3,500 all of last year. So this is like basically 4x last year, and that surprised me, I guess, when I heard that number. When I heard also last year's number, that surprised me. It was only 3,500, and you know, then to be 4x this year is surprising. So anyway, just kind of was curious on your opinion on that. So like, okay, did this change your opinion of the soccer market at all, or is this kind of what you were expecting? You know, any thoughts in that regard?
Ooh. All right, so for me, I mean, I'm just someone that still thinks that our stuff hasn't had its day yet fully. Obviously minus the what's called like Golden Boy, what's called like Messi, right? But I think it's just, I did see a lot of stuff on tables that I'm just like, to me at least, it's like you see stuff in top loaders and holders, and you're kind of like, that's in a top loader, that's in a holder, like, because it's just stuff that there is a market for, and I'm still confused, and it's probably because I'm being, you know, me, but I just, it's still kind of scary that our thing hasn't hit where it needs to be, in my opinion. I think it's whenever I see all the shiny stuff, the 12 out of 399 stuff getting sold, and I'm there like, we got rookies that are pop 30, and it still hasn't kind of picked up. At least now there was people that were coming by and they knew what we had, what our corner had, people that immediately they start talking and you're just like, you do know, right? Like, so that, but for the main part, I think we have to get to the point where we aren't the soccer card market. Our thing feels like a whole nother thing now. It just doesn't feel like whenever people talk about the soccer card market, I assume they're talking about modern and what's called like ultra modern. I look at our thing as, I don't even know what to call it, like something else. It's like a flea market or something. I don't know, but is not the soccer card market, because it's two different things, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure that y'all feel like the same way. Maybe I think within time it does happen. I'm not trying to wait around. I'm trying to buy as much as I can and obviously now sell as much as I can so I could get the stuff that I want. But I mean, you know, there are many of us. I think what Scott had said, that they're just not in our Discord. They're just not, because there was people that were from Italy and stuff that they were coming up and they knew what I had. They were immediately like, "Oh, Forza," and I'm like, "Forza, yeah, Forza." I had to do like a Google like translate with one dude. He was from France and he was just like pointing out all the good stuff I had. And in my mind, I'm like, this dude ain't on the Discord. Like, who the hell's this dude? Like, there was this little kid that walked up, little 10-year-old little punk. He walked up and he knew everything. It felt like he knew about the George Best 66, 67. He asked me about the Dino. And mind you, this is a little kid. So maybe his pops is into it. You know, I'm not sure. But I mean, I think, like, I don't want people to think that because we're speaking so well about it that we were selling cards left and right on top. We walked out with 160 grand each. Like, I don't want people to think that. I think if we keep doing what we're doing, what you guys have been doing for years, what I'm trying to do now, if we keep waving that flag, I think we could bring in people the right way with the right amount of what's called like information. I think I really tried to do like a good job of trying to just like let folks know that this is where it's at. Like for us, for our thing, we got good stuff. The history is there. The pop reports, if you're into the cards and you start looking at our pop reports, holy crap. I mean, there is so much opportunity on so many players from so many countries. And then you go down the line of every country, whether it's South America, what's called like Eastern Europe, right? France, everything has its own world within. So it's like, once you start going down all of those rabbit holes, we're on like day 2, if you think about it, on like the grand scale of things. So all that said, I just think we need more people from our Discord. I think that will get us going in the right way. I'm glad that Scott gave us a spacious area to be able to like start to do this as time goes on. I think it was spacious. There was food, there was water, there was Gatorade, there was beer, there was it feels like all we need now is more people. Now I think we got a good thing, and I just think from our thing, we need to just keep doing it, keep waving the flag, however long it takes, and if you build it, the people will come, right? So
it was like it was a little eye-opening because we get into our bubbles, we get into our like Instagram pre-modern bubbles, and we're in our Discord bubbles, and you walk around the show, it's like 85% ultra modern. But there was some cool education happening. Like Scott bought some of his first pre-modern stuff from Champ, and was talking to us about the Zidane foot rainbow and all this stuff. And I saw, Al, you were talking to Sunday League. So I think we closed that gap by continuing to show up and kind of talk about our eras and kind of maybe bring some of the younger generation, into the coolness of pre-modern and vintage. But yeah, it definitely was eye-opening.
I would just add, I spent Saturday at the show, not the SoCo show, the National, and I talked to Stacy, and Stacy was at the Uncommon Curators table. And I was there for about an hour. And this guy has a bunch of non-sports, but also had a display of some vintage soccer, a lot of Pele. And the amount of people that I saw walk up to his display case that were interested in vintage and Pele cards was probably more than I had on any one night. at SoCo, and I talked to a few of them. None of them were in the Discord, and none of them knew about the show that was happening, later in the afternoon. So I really do think that there's a populace out there that's thirsty for it, and they just haven't connected with us yet. But I did see a lot of interest at the show, and I thought that was pretty positive.
Yeah,
That's super positive. And I think this SoCo and the Discord, because this is a small niche, is about finding your tribe, right? And I think in Champs, hour and a half marathon, awesome video, link down below, check it out, subscribe and like his video as well, helps the algorithm. The reality is this is a small thing right now. It has a potential, and there's a lot of structural reasons to like it. Champ names some of them, right? Pop reports, diversity of the players, the whole international growth of the sport, which continues to be the world's number one sport. I mean, I always go back to that, the world's number one, and it's not even close. Right? It's not even close, right? And given the fact we had between the national, a few tables had some stuff like Scott's mentioning, and then only 4, 5, 6, 8 tables maybe at SoCo had pre-modern and vintage. I mean, it's a sliver of a sliver, right? And so it's super small, but it has massive potential, right? I mean, and Scott, you, me, and Bill have been in this for 15 years. We've always seen it and been excited, by this. But I think just getting out there and mingling with your tribe and reinforcing the fact that even if it's a sliver of a sliver, it's not weird. It's not without basis, right? Because sometimes I think Bill and I both had various times in the last 15 years where we were like, man, it's just not fun. I mean, you can't talk to anybody about this stuff because, no one that collects it. There's no event. Anytime I post on any Net 54, any like broad sports cards, people are like looking at this like as my partner used to say, an Aborigine looking at a share of stock. Like, what the hell is this? Like what are you like? It's just completely foreign to everyone, and it's not foreign anymore to some people, right? That may be hundreds, maybe thousands, and the question is, hey, how do we get that into tens of thousands over time? And I think that events like this are crucial for that, regardless of, how much you sell there, because they get passion. That 10-year-old kid, ultimately becomes a collector. He's interested. He knows what the George Best, card is. He, and then and some of the people that were in modern come down, like the Sunday League, team will. We're going to try to do a vintage thing. Your guys' Primo podcast, right? All the work that Andre had, done for before, what the Soccer Study Discord did, what we're doing. I think all of these are little pieces of a bigger pie. So SoCo isn't going to we're not going to get 15,000 new collectors because SoCo happened. Not going to happen, right?
The fact that there is a SoCo is the progress.
Yeah, the fact that there is one. And if we got 15, that's a big number for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we get 2 in pre-war, we're like jumping for joy. So
yeah. So I mean, and I know I don't want to make me like we're so small, because I do think there's generally interest, but I mean, it's something telling, and Champ mentioned this on his thing, like, and to the point where Alex, my son, who's there, he's like 80% of the time that I'm, opening the cabinet, it's to show, a Ronaldo, rookie, or a Messi, rookie, right?
Nice.
So it's like, yeah. so it's like, like all the time, they're like, show me this card, and yes, but I think it's important. This is why I bring these cards, right? Because it gets people. And then you can have a conversation. Oh, hey, did you know who the Ronaldo was before Ronaldo? Here's Peroteo. He scored more goals. Hey, let me tell you about this guy. they're not going to buy that card, right? If they're looking for Ronaldo, but it starts this process of learning, of, of opening people's idea of what is out there. And what out there is not just, these are great cards. I don't have any problem with people getting these cards, but this is not all that's out there. There's so much more. And that's what SoCo is, trying to be, just, broadening these horizons, making the personal connections, because it can feel lonely collecting niche stuff on your own when none of your friends understand you and they think you're a weirdo, right? Your wife may cut you some slack just because she loves you so much, right? But the reality is, in the end, we're like Champ said again, we're old guys collecting old pieces of paper and cardboard. That by its very nature is weird. Okay. But then and then we go for the foreign stuff of our players or people that a lot of people haven't never heard of. And that makes it, partially more weird. So, but I think they're all steps in the right direction. And that's what we've been trying to do over the last, 5 years. I mean, we could have made the choice, years ago, just to hoard all of our knowledge and just try to get all the rarest stuff for ourselves. But we originally decided, hey, you know what? We got to get more people in this. It's going to be more fun for us. It's going to be more expensive, but it's going to be more fun the more, information gets out and the more people come to collect this stuff, because it is really, really fun stuff to collect. More fun than a 1955 Topps card.
I got to tell you, bringing more people into the market like we has brought more hunters in. And we're seeing more stuff now, at least I am, than I did 15 years ago. And I think it's because, you've got young guys out there and people that are hungry and people that are willing to put in the time and look. And, they've brought so much stuff to market that, we didn't see, and things that we did see that we were wrong about. So I think it's a two-way street.
Yep, for sure. So Scott, Matt, Champ, appreciate you guys. We got to get going on this state of the market. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you, check out Champ and Matt's podcast, Primo Podcast. And, thank you so much, guys. And, we'll see you on the Discord.
Thank you, guys. Great to meet you last week.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Y'all. Go CoExpo 26.
There you go.
All right, Champ. See ya. Yeah, I think that we at some point it just has to happen organically too. I think we can evangelize, is that the right word, about things so much, but at some point there's the law of diminishing returns on something like that. And you and I kind of had that conversation just on the drive back to your hotel the one night. And at some point it is up to other people. And but I just think in general, and we kind of how we were betting on it when you, me, Scott were doing this pre-boom. It's just we're betting on just more people entering, and however that is, it's just going to happen organically. And so I think we can fast forward it a little bit, but I'm not sure all the efforts at this point, there's some crazy material impact aside from the just the Discord being a fountain information, people sharing on Instagram, things like that. You can at least get eyes on it to guide people, but at some point they got to have the desire to actually be in that sector.
Yeah, and it's just incremental. I mean, it does have an incremental impact, right? So I'm not joking. If we had 15 new collectors that we, created, there you go. But that's actually what Scott was going back to 256, right? It's about, people, because you're a great example, just grinders who are out there trying to putting in the work, because it's a ton of work, the grind, trying to find the new stuff in Russia or, whatever, country you happen to be looking at. So, I feel like there's that's good, and we won't know the impact of some of these things, but it also is a positive of just being around your tribe every now and
100%.
then. an infusion of energy to, you know, continue on. Because in most, like if I told people that worked with me, you know, that I collect soccer cards, I think most of them would look at me like, what? Like, why? Like, you know, like, and then you spend, if you ever started to think about, you know, what you potentially could spend in dollars, people would be like, even more like, are you okay? You know, why don't you take a vacation? You know, that type of stuff. So look, at long story short, I think the effort is amazing. It's great to get connected to people, to meet people that you've chatted with online. You've seen their collection that you have great respect for. That's, you know, probably 80% of the SoCo experience.
Yep, I agree. And so let's hop into some of these auctions. We can kind of do a Cliff Notes version of these. But there wasn't a Golden Elite that ended in July because they pushed it back, I think, because of the National. So we're going to go right to the weeklies for Golden. There was just one auction that I kind of wanted to cover in that regard. The first one was, I think it was just a, let's see here. It was a PSA 5 Alifa team card that went for like $700. And I'm just kind of thinking how much that would have been like during the boom. And I can't find the tab for it, but let's see. Yeah, I lost it. So here's the weekly that had some things. Like, this is mainly kind of just going over, and we didn't really discuss it too much, but Messi has been crazy, booming like his sales over the course of the past month. So this is a auction that ended the middle of July, and just to kind of like use these as a base to compare even what things that sold 2 weeks later, it just feels like we're in this fast forwarded boom of just Messi cards. And we noticed that at SoCo even, right? Like, it's just people willing to pay like over comps on a lot of like the nicer items. And what do you think's driving that? And also, like, is it just new entrants? Is it excitement because there's just so many people that are like, you know, these issues with people can't get into the National because they're waiting in line. There's a 2-mile line to get in. Is it just people are thirsty for inventory? Like, what is the thing, do you think, that's pushing these Messi prices up?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's it's a confluence of a number of events. I think most of the people coming into those cards, which is mostly, by the way, the 71 BIS and I'd say Elite Modern Autos and 2014 Prism, right now at least. Yeah, there's a little bit of filter down to the team, you know, rookie cards for Messi and the sticker and some of those other things, but not nearly to the extent of the 71 BIS. I really believe that most of this are crossover collectors doing the relative math. There, as I had mentioned, I think it was last month, you know, there were a few people who, you know, social media influencers that don't typically cover soccer that had some snidbits on the 71 BIS and did some relative comparisons, things that we do all the time. But like, hey, look at the pop report, this versus the Jordan, and then look at the pricing of this versus and then look at the PSA 10s, you know, versus, you know, the Jordan and or other cards, and pretty much any way you benchmark a Messi card. And then I think the guy Cards HQ, what's his name, Jeff?
Jeff Wilson.
Jeff Wilson, yeah, did something similar. And then what happened ultimately is that you get a lot of crossover people. They're doing this comparative math and they're saying, wow, you know what? Messi's cheap given his importance. He's going to be the Jordan.
Right.
And guess what? And then PSA also came out with the top 25 cards of the first 25 years of the century. And the only base card in it was the 71 BIS. Right. So that also made people say, holy shit. This is a big card, right? And so I think that it's really shifted the demand upwards from mostly non-traditional participants in the soccer market. And I don't even know if they'll ever collect anything besides this narrow group of products. I wouldn't necessarily of cards and stuff. I wouldn't necessarily assume just because they get in and buy a 71 bis,
Right.
that they're suddenly going to buy everything.
Right.
They're going to, if they found the market attractive, they would go get it, and then they would turn right around and leave, or just see it as an investment piece. I'm not sure you can count on all those people saying, let me buy a Puskas rookie. Now I'm going to start digging up for Di Stefano. I'm imagining 80% of the people that are buying Messi rookies in the last month never heard of Di Stefano.
Right.
Could certainly not name who won the 1952 Olympic gold medal for soccer. Right. So I just, I'd be a little careful at over broadening the current effect right now. But I will say that then you start having Messi go up and make a run, and then some people will be like, wow, let's benchmark him to Pele. And now suddenly that creates a Pele ring. And then where does it stop? I don't know. But you can quickly see kind of a narrative where, Maradona runs and Pele runs. And, I think we're already seeing CR7 run, although not as broadly as Messi. So
right.
I don't know. Those are my preliminary thoughts without having any real data.
And that kind of speaks to your sliver of a sliver of a sliver, right? Like you get the full grouping at Messi, then you have a sliver that goes to CR7, you have a sliver that goes to, tearing down each time to eras and things like that. So yeah, I think that sounds like, you brought a lot of data points or, potential influences, and I think, they all make sense. So why don't we hop over to the Fanatics Collect Premier Auction. There was a decent amount of items that ended this month. Some pretty nice items. Some of them, I guess, kind of surprised me a little bit on the prices. We have the Crying Pele, Bremer Fockring, PSA 7 goes for $5,000.
Super low, man.
Those things are, that's like one of the higher demand issues, or that's probably the top Bremer Fockring card of Pele in that set. Then we have the Lirati Meazza. It's the first one to go in a little bit. Sells for $25K for a PSA 1. So that's a solid price, right? Like that's kind of do you recall like what the last few went for? Because I don't remember. It's been a while since they've sold, right?
Yeah, I want to say, well, there was a 2 that sold for 34, but it was a good looking 2, maybe the best copy out there.
Yeah.
And then there had been some ones that were selling in the 18s. This particular one, if you look at one of the corners, it just kind of missing a large part of the corner.
Yeah.
So I'm not completely, I think this is even a stronger price than it looks like when you adjust for condition.
Yeah.
Now, they're all kind of 1s and 2s, 2.5s, whatever. So I don't think you expect a big, gigantic premium, but this is probably one with a lower eye appeal, I would say, at least to the things that are important to me. So I think this is kind of a big, price, but still far off some of the original prices. Like when this came, the first few of these hit, it was like $70,000, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that was because we hadn't seen one at market, and
it went huge. So
yeah.
Is this, for again, player adjusted rarity? We saw some. What was the card last month that we saw hit 24? Was it the Orsi Plus Ultra? Or
I think that one was just under 20.
20?
What was the one that hit 24? I'm sure somebody watching is like You old guys and your brains.
Yeah, but there was
Was
one
it the
that
JM Moreno?
Oh, JM Moreno. Okay, so
Yeah.
so like you look at that, which of these would you rather have? That was kind of in my mind, and it's a tough one, right? It's a tough one. I mean, maybe I take, just because grade and Christmas version, maybe I take the JM Moreno. It's hard. Maybe they're the same. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, if I was only going to have one, I would prefer the Lurati, just because I feel like he's just more of a like the top pre-war player.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I totally understand the opposite. I think there's, at the end of the day, I think they'll end up being more JM Morenos, maybe not necessarily in that grade, but maybe I'm wrong in that regard. I just feel like Italy has to be hit pretty hard at this point. You know what I mean? Of people looking for them, where I don't necessarily know that's true for Argentina, but and that's one of the more gettable 30 sets. Maybe not necessarily the Christmas one, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that far off, and I could understand people arguing either side of that. So I think maybe that they are close, and one's not a great deal relative to the other.
Yeah.
Here we have a couple of Pele's, a PSA 4 for 24K, PSA 7 miscut for 19, which makes me scratch my head more and more about those authentic altered ones. You know what I mean? You get a PSA 7, even if it's a miscut and I get it, like it's super off center. I almost think it's OC versus MC, don't you? Or is it?
Yeah. I mean, I think on the back it was, some of the lettering was cut. So usually if they cut off any of the letters, then they usually give it the MC by general.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I guess they're kind of the same in a way. And then we have one of the early Eusebios for 22K. I feel like they're kind of like a sleeping giants to me a little bit, because like, how many of those do you think are out there?
Yeah, I think the pops on all of those are like, I mean, maybe not this one, maybe here.
It says pop 1 of 3, none higher.
Yeah, so I think that, so that there's 3 of those, and then there's maybe 8 of those, and then the other one, there's probably, I mean, they're so rare. I mean, this is, and back to Champ's point, it's like, holy cow, you can see there's hundreds and hundreds of Lamine Yamal numbered cards, trading for thousands and thousands of dollars. And then here you have one of the greats of the game, maybe with 20 collective rookie cards, and they're trading. I mean, I know it's a big number, but relative to the, stuff, I mean, this guy's written, he's in the history books. He's just such a master, superstar, the Black Panther, almost winning in 66. I mean, winning Champions League, just such a cultural icon, and, pop 3, right? And you're sitting there going, 21,000. We're like, wow, that's a huge price. And it's like, is it?
Yeah.
Is it really? So I think that there's some of this kind of going on. I'd say this recalibration, at least in my brain too, it is like, man, there should be probably more than that. But
I think that's what the National did to me a little bit, because I'm like looking at all these prices on all of these cards, and I'm just like almost callous to what the people are asking for cards, like whether it's modern or vintage. Like it's, I was mentioning how I bought like a old baseball card with Jim Thorpe on it, and it's probably like about $1,000. But when you compare like how many of those are out there, right? And it's a PSA 1, and like the cards we can get for $1,000 in vintage that are like, it's just mind blowing, the difference. And I I totally understand the demand side of baseball versus, but it's just, why stop now? Like, you know what I mean? Because I've definitely cooled off on my buying, but why am I doing that when I still believe in everything? You know what I mean? And it's like, why am I slowing down when I should still be getting things, when I believe that these things are still a deal, and I believe there are going to be a bunch of people coming into the soccer, vintage and pre-war long term. So, like, I think the National kind of woke me up a little bit, just seeing those prices and things that there's thousands of, and something similar of the guy, thousands of those, and they're all valued more than this type of stuff, and there's 20 of them. So
yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like there's a bunch of auctions, which typically happens. You go to the National, you see the stuff, then the auctions close this coming weekend, and there are some items out there that personally I'm bidding on in other categories that aren't soccer.
Yep.
And there's always this thing. It's like, holy cow, this card, not a Hall of Famer, not a certainly not a household name, very rare card, but it's going to be more than that Mesa Larati,
right,
for the winner, right? Non Hall of Famer, no baseball fan would know of this person, right? And so, when you look at it like that, you're like, holy cow, man. I mean, this is not a common player, but a semi-star, and it's going to cost more than the elite, if using your words, player pre-wars card in soccer. So you just feel this continuing disequilibrium, which is part of the reason why, back to the original comments, I believe we start to see the Messi's run when people are recognizing that, damn, I can get a LeBron rookie of similar stature cost me a couple $100,000, and the Messi cost me $10,000. So whether that was $5,000 last month or whether I have to pay $15,000 right now, who cares?
Yeah,
it's just the narrative sticks, right? So I think that's a little bit what we're seeing in the market as a whole.
All right, let's hop onto these weekend or the weekly auctions. We'll kind of pop through these pretty quickly. So this is the one from the end of July 20th. Looks like we had a PSA 6 George Bosco for $3K, which feels light to me, based on like what I recall them selling for. Granted, a 6 is probably the median grade, maybe. But
I think that may have had a tick down, but I'm not. But yeah, I mean, it grades. A number of the cards are graded high for sure.
Yeah. This PSA 4 Vav Pele for 2,400. PSA 6 TTT Beckenbauer for 2,300.
That's a bounce back. I mean, I think the Pele is a little low here. I just generally feel, to me, although that's the same price as the last one.
Yeah.
The Beckenbauer had dipped, into the low 1,000s at that grade, I think. So that's a bounce back of that particular card. It's a super important card, if you ask me. And how many 4 graded higher? I mean, that's a pretty elite rookie for him then.
Now we get into some Messi's, kind of ended at the same time. These are still probably the lower dollar Messi's. There's a famous Lev Yashin card, which we don't see it all the time, but we see it frequently enough.
And being a 3,
it's a high grade.
Is a high grade for that card. I wish the colors were a little brighter, but you'd be surprised at how many people ask me for this card at SoCo.
Yeah.
By name. Like, I literally had 5 people ask for this Yashin.
Wow.
which is very odd. I mean, I had a couple others from the set, the Beckenbauer, namely, but and maybe there's one more. But anyway, people asked me for that.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, let's pop to the next week. Here we have the a 9.5 Messi sticker for 6,600. Abyss for a PSA 5 for $5,000. This 2 is about normal price for what they go for recently. Here's a Titulares Pele 4 for $2,000.
It's just like, it's so weird that's a 4. It's so terribly cut.
Yeah, I mean, everything else has to be amazing to get that to a 4.
I know. And then, you know, we did talk on the Discord about that Beckenbauer up there, the red and blue, that we've never seen it on a strip. Matt had mentioned there the PSA had kicked some out because they had been rebacked on the red and blue backs, as those tend to be more valuable. So I would just, in general, like, I bid like $30 on this card because I wanted to see it in person, but obviously knowing that I wasn't gonna ultimately win, I just watched this, and this is just a bit of a watch out for people.
Yeah.
to really kind of, you know, be careful with that card, at least until we see a strip. The fact that I've never known anyone that's seen a strip is pretty telling, because I think there's only should be about 48 cards, and we've never seen the strip, but suddenly, you know, 2 of them are graded, is a little odd. So just proceed with caution on those.
And for those of you that don't know, the red and blue backs came with albums that had a strip of 4 cards together. So all of these have been hand cut. And so, like, that's what Al's saying is, why is it that we've never seen the full strip without that? So, yeah, that's a good point. Just be careful with the Beckenbauer in particular. Most of the other ones that we've seen strips of. So
yeah, I can't think of another card that we haven't seen the strip on.
Right.
So that's why, and that would be, if you were going to do something nefarious, that would be a card that you'd want to do it with. That's probably the second most important card in the set after the Pele, which does come on the strip. So, you know, that would be the candidate if you did have nefarious intentions.
Yep. All right, and then let's go to the ones that ended last week. Some more Andrades. We have a 4 from the 32 set for just under $3,000. This is a pretty great condition Beckenbauer crack, just like the Yashin we were looking at.
Yeah, and that one was really nice, sharp.
Yeah,
a sharp copy. I know some people were like, well, you know, it's CGC. Yeah, that card is a nice card. Just if you look at the card,
no matter what the grader is, that's a
exactly.
sweet.
That's a beauty.
It's a sharp one.
Yeah.
Here we have the Nasazi, and then 1.5 for $450. So, kind of a disconnect, but there's a pretty big grade difference too. So,
and this is significantly down from the one in, what was it, 180?
Yeah, 180. Yep.
So yeah, there's some scuffing on the face and whatnot, but you know, on a grade adjusted basis, a 4 on that Andrade is huge.
Yeah, that's a big grade. So, all right, let's hop into some fixed price sales, which there was a ton of this year, or this month.
The momentum on the fixed price, that's another big thing. Is it like when FOMO hits, the fixed price, you know, sales are significant.
Yeah, so this is from July on. You're going to see a ton of Messis because I think everybody is scooping up those fixed prices once they saw the run. A Cafu 6, which is a pretty decent grade for that, for $250. Here's the PSA 7
Maradona.
Yeah, for $11K.
There's now. So remember what I just said a second ago about the Beckenbauer. The 6 sold for like 2,400.
Yeah,
And then the 3 sold
for 16.
for 16. So right after, people, oh my God, is that a rare one? Should I go get it? Type of, mentality.
Yep. There's a 8.5 bis for 10K. We're just going to see a ton of Messi here.
How much was the 9 Este sticker in BGS?
2750. So these were all ones that probably been priced like, half a year ago or whatever. And
what did the 4,400 for the black
yeah,
Pele?
5, yep.
Yeah.
Look
at the Jan Moreno. Nice to see one of those out there.
Oh yeah, the 42 Glorieta.
Yeah, that's cool. And this the Schiaffino, that's actually his brother, but sold for $650. Lots of Messis, like you said.
Yeah, it's just a ton of them. Plus Ultra.
That's pretty uncommon.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a Fritz Walter too.
Yeah, for 1,200.
And you bought yours like it for 500, right?
Yep, 540 for my 1.5.
Nice.
So I'm sure the back's probably a little cleaner. A best 7 for 5,400. So that 3,000 for the 6 feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Here's a PSA 5 for Crack Maradona for 5,600. Now we're starting to cook PSA 8.
And this is just a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
19.
Yeah.
It's a big number.
Yeah.
7.5 R9 for
6K. Yeah.
36 grand for the
for a 9.5.
Gosh, I may just have to list mine.
Really?
36 grand. You know how much pre-war we can buy? That sounded like you.
Yeah, I don't. I believe in those cards, especially the Ronaldos right now. I just don't know why I would sell those. Like,
yeah,
especially relative to the Messi.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, on those grades. Yeah, so here's an idea while we're scrolling. There's an 8 for 4,500.
Yeah, so now we're starting to cook, right? Like that's
and a huge difference between the PSA, which, by the way, I 100% agree with.
Yep.
Getting a PSA versus a BGS and those stickers, completely agree that there should be a massive premium.
What was the sale that was announced? Was it a 9 Messi 71 bis that sold, or is that what it was? And they announced for like 835,000 or whatever.
Yeah, that was a 10. That was
a 10.
835. Okay. But now since that, another one came out at more than $1 million.
Okay.
So
here's a 10 Mundi Chromo for 50K, and that just sold yesterday.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And look at this one sold 2 days ago, a 2 for 3,000.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, I really don't have much else to show. I mean, there's some stuff on eBay, but it's nothing of real note. So I think we'll just skip that.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much on Heritage or the sale. I didn't have much saved on Sale Room. So,
but I think that, the market definitely moving in Messi, modern stuff is super hot. If you just check out the PWCC weeklies, Lamine Yamal just continues to be on fire. Sets that are on fire. I mean, Trouble. Every sale I look at looks like it's doing well. The Parallels in the Prism 2014 seem to be doing great. Just everything feels, strong. I think if I was to look at some softness in the market, I would call out Pele seems really soft, which is interesting. I sold more Maradona and Cruyff, despite having probably double the inventory of Pele at SoCo, and I sold more of both of their stuff than Pele. So that's kind of an interesting market thing. And then I think Ronaldo CR7 stuff is like a half step behind a Messi. And then I think some of the really pre-modern kind of goats that like Champ and Matt and stuff would get into are just kind of nudging in that direction. So I felt a little bit of the beginnings of kind of like Zidane, FOMO, some people looking for especially the yellow sticker and stuff like that. MVB, Van Basten. I also felt, I got a lot of inquiries on that sticker. So, yeah, I mean, it's a nice market. I would just say that, especially if you're new to the market, really try to resist the FOMO urge. You can get burned easily when you stretch. Do your research, feel comfortable in what you're doing, understand that soccer cards by their nature are volatile, and please never ever use your rent money for sports cards. So that's my little bit of my 2 cents is kind of the fatherly.
Yeah.
What I would tell my cousins or if I had any younger siblings, just be careful.
Yep, for sure. And yep, another month. It was really good to see you, brother, in Chicago. And thanks to Scott, thanks to Champ and Matt. Be sure to check out their podcast, the Primo podcast. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks Scott, Champ, Matt. Appreciate it, and great to see you, Bill. And we will see everyone on the Discord and next week on the Premium.
Yes, sir. All right. Good night, everybody.